Hello. Hello, hello, hello. I don't have my glasses on here. Carolyn, I see you're here, and Nancy and Stevie and Raina. Cold snow. Oh, wow, snow in Kansas City. Um, we're in Los Angeles. It's actually raining here, which is interesting. Not for long though. Amy, good morning. Sam Pete. Okay, you're drizzling. Yeah, it's drizzling here. All right. So hello, hello. How are you all doing? Let me know what's going on for you and how you're feeling and all of that stuff. So if anybody wants to tell me anything, that's what I really miss from being in person, in the flesh, is the interaction and sharing what's going on in your life, whether that's mental, emotional, or physical. And so I really do miss that group interaction and my sense of the dynamics of the group energetically, because I really would feel that. I could feel where we were, whether there was frenzied minds, if there's a lot going on. And so I really miss that I can't actually, I know you're there and you tell me you're here. But I really I don't get like where we're all at. And that was such a big part of teaching classes for me, when we were in person. So that is one thing that I would say is, yeah. And I do Zoom classes. So I have Zoom classes where I interact with people, and I do private work. So when I work with people privately, of course, I could go deeper and really get what their needs are and then help say, okay, here's this, this, and this. And that's what it is, I guess. I study so much and have learned so much. And then it's when I know like what the issues are, I'm like, okay, here's a tool for this, and here's a tool for this, and here's a tool for this. All right, Joanne, good morning. Okay. Shiatsu massage. I hope that was great. Cervical spine. All right. Pat, hello. Yes, it is misting in the garden. Low back. All right. Yeah, it's really interesting. In the beginning of the pandemic, I think as we were adjusting to more home and then more, whether that's reading, gardening, more like stuff here, versus living outside and being outside with each other and doing things. There just seems to be more of this that's happening in our lives, right? And more of this is going to give my tag. Okay. And more of this is going to give us more stuff. So in the beginning of the pandemic, there was a lot more shoulder and upper back and neck issues. And now I used to hear, what I used to hear the most, honestly, was knees and low back. So I used to hear more lower body issues for people, and now there's more upper body tension and issues. So, all right, well, today's practice, actually, Amy, that's going to help me a little bit as well. If you'll see, I do have a chair ready because I wanted us to begin in a chair, and actually I wanted to do some practice in a chair today. So that'll actually be really great for low back, and for upper back and neck. Usual. Well, hopefully that won't be always usual, Nancy, but we know that you're able to find relief. So I love that. Anxiety. Okay. Yeah. All right. So thank you. I have some stuff to work with. If we're going to make soup, you guys just gave me some ingredients. And so we'll see what today's soup ends up being. All right. Perfect. Okay. So let's come back to our space. I'm currently detoxing right now. Every year at the beginning of the year, I do a 26-day detox that is one of the most amazing things I've ever done. And it's really, the woman that does it, she actually has studied with some pretty big players in the detoxification world. And one of them is Gershwin, Dr. Gershwin. He deals a lot with people that have chronic illness, cancer, and a lot of issues. So it's a pretty, I want to say that it's medically based, with as much medical scientific base as it could be. meaning what we know, what we really know with all of our research. Anyway, so I'm on this detox right now, which is pretty amazing. So there's a lot of internal self-healing and self-care that's happening for me, and a noticing of what needs to be healed or shifted or whatever. Okay, let me just turn off one thing. Okay, all right. So for today's practice, I would like us to use a chair and have a chair. And I will say that a chair can be your best friend if you have low back issues. And really, because throughout my life, if I think about my journey in this last 15 years, having hip issues, or 12 years, whatever it is, it happened when I was 44, my injury. I would say that whenever I put my legs up a chair or legs up the wall is when I get my quickest relief. And I remember being in Spain, in San Sebastian in 2015. And that's before I had my first surgery. And that's 4.5 years after my injury. So I was my injury was really breaking down in my hip joint. And I remember, when you're on vacation, you walk a lot, right? And we had just come from Paris, and I remember walking 1.5 miles and having throbbing pain in my hips. And when I was in Spain, I think it was just all the action, all the weeks of walking. I laid down, I have photos of it actually. I laid down in the bed and put my legs up the headboard and did some things with my legs on the wall. And I just remember that, like, it stands out to me. And then whenever my back is hurting me, I either find a chair or I find a wall to put my legs up. So we are going to begin today's practice in a chair, and then we'll actually sit up in the chair because we can do a lot of great stretching of the upper body because the pelvis is locked when we're in a seated position, and we can start to move the upper trunk. And my goal is always that I teach you something that you raise some body awareness so that you can actually maintain your body. Because if this breaks, then it starts to affect us up here. So to be happy in the mind, we need to have a strong, healthy, limber, mobile body in order for us to experience this life in the way that we want to experience it. All right. So for today, I'd like you to get a chair, and a chair with no back is really ideal. So a lot of people have folding chairs at home. This is ideal, not always an option, I know. And if you did have a chair with arms, you're going to need to turn the chair to the side so that your legs can go here. Because the really important thing about legs in the chair is that your entire leg is supported. So you don't want it to be here. If the leg is here, then your hip flexors have to do some work. You really need the leg to be flush up against the back of the chair. So go get something, whatever you need. And the other thing is I want you to have an extra blanket, especially if you happen to be shorter than 5'5", because elevating your pelvis may be what you need to really get the proper alignment to get the relaxation. So that upper leg bone, when it's deeply set in the hip capsule, it'll relax the pelvis and let the muscles of the pelvis soften. And for those with low back issues, sometimes it's chronic muscular tension that's leading to the low back issues. So finding another blanket, finding a chair. And if you don't have this, an ottoman at home works really well if you have a big one, or a sofa or a chair at home. So there's always something you could find. I do this all over the place. I lay down on the ground all in different places. I just told you about that place in Spain, but I do it when I'm at people's houses. When if my back is sore, I get on the floor near their sofa or their chair and I put my legs at the sofa or chair. So it really can be therapeutic. And I'd like us to begin today in that way. So a blanket for the head, really not a big fold. So that would be better if that's a shorter fold, because when you do take the pressure away from the pelvis, from the hip flexors, and you let your pelvis go into a neutral position, you let the low back relax. When you release the low back in that way, it also will release the tension that's held in the upper body to help hold you upright. So this is more of a structural aspect of posture. You're going to need a block and a strap for later today in the practice, so make sure you have those handy. I'm going to show you what happens with this extra blanket here. Well, I'm going to show you before I go down because I'm going to use it here. This is a aluminum chair and it's kind of cold. My daughter painted this chair when she was in high school. They had a art class and they were painting chairs, and I love it. I use it all the time. So I'm going to actually use this here because I want my legs to be supported by this. So this is one option. And then for those of you that are 5'5" or less, or even if you're not 5'5" or less, it actually can be really nice to elevate the pelvis, and that's a little bit of an inversion. So for heart health. So the other place to put this is you fold the blanket and you put it underneath your sacrum, and then you let your legs relax. Okay, maybe I'll stay here. I'll choose this today. So those are the positions, or those are the ways to use a blanket. And then when you do, or if you do elevate your pelvis higher than heart is relaxing for the heart, relaxing for the blood pressure. So I would say that physically, this is going to be really good for your hips, your knees, your low back, your spine, and your upper back and neck, and releasing tension in the body. And then I'm going to say from a mental, emotional, or a deep physiological, biochemical, you're going to help now to actually physically slow down cardiovascular system, or the need for the heart to pump so much. So from a time when you need to balance and ground your mind, this could be a really great way to ground your mind. And the flatter that you lie down, that's more stimulation of the relaxation zone. So find yourself into this legs up the chair or on the chair position. And then when you arrive, close your eyes to notice what you notice. Turning on your awareness. And then dig your arms, your upper arms into the ground to lift the upper rib cage up away from the floor, and slide the shoulder blades closer to the spine. And then slowly let your body relax. Bring your awareness to your head and neck. Notice here if you have too much blanket, if you can lower the blanket. And bring your hands onto your belly. Let's take the head, start to slowly go side to side, maybe not all the way at first. Closing the eyes, go a little bit side to side, releasing tension in the neck, upper back. Start to go a little bit bigger with your head rolls. Let your head go to one side, stay there. Try to let your head go as far as it will so you feel a stretch on the opposite side of the neck. Then tuck the chin down towards the shoulder in the direction that you're at and stretch a different area of your neck. Let your chin rise again. Bring your head slowly up and over to the other side as far as you can, feeling the stretch wherever you do. You may feel it on the other side or you may feel it on the same side. Then tucking the chin down towards the shoulders
almost like you're smelling your own armpits. And then bring back to neutral. Slowly bring your head back, closing your eyes. So for me, I felt a stretch on the part of my body that's the tightest, which is the right, the upper right. I didn't feel as much on the left. And when I went back to neutral, I felt the adjustment of my cervical spine, feeling like, I want to say a pop, but not in a gas release way, more in a bone moving way. And I'm sharing that with you because sometimes people say like, oh, when you said that, you felt that there, I did too, or I was wondering what this was or that was. Then lengthen your back neck. So feel the center of your head on the blanket, and then push it down and slide it to lengthen, and your chin will be coming closer to your chest. And then notice how this feels. Trying to get our spine in a nice aligned position. Your legs, make your legs a little wide, and then allow the kneecaps to point out to the sides. Little external rotation in that hip joint, nice relaxed hip joint position. Bring your awareness to the calves that are on the chair, or if your legs are up the wall, the heels that are on the wall, and release. Let go of the heaviness. Let go of the left calf right now. Let it be heavy. And then bring your awareness to the right calf. Let it be really heavy. See if you could turn off muscles that we're still holding. Bring your awareness to the upper left thigh. See if you can soften the muscles of the left thigh. Let that left femur bone be heavy in your left hip joint. And see if you could feel that in the left glute, the left SI joint, where the sacrum and the pelvis are connected. Maybe even up to the left lower back. Bring your awareness to the right thigh, the right upper leg. Let the muscles soften. Let the femur bones sink deep in the hip capsule. Feel that depth. Feel that release, that pressure on the right buttock. And let your tushy be soft. Feel the right low back release, soften. Bringing your awareness to your low back, to the muscles of the low back. And just like an ice cube on the hot pavement that would melt, let your muscles melt, let them soften, let the low back be drawn towards the floor with gravity. Feel the weight of the front belly and all that's in your belly pressing towards your spine, towards your low back, softening and releasing. Feel the heaviness and the release and the let go. Bring your awareness to your hands. Feel the heaviness of the hands helping. And then bring your awareness to the spine, the back of the ribs. Feel the back of the ribs soften, release. The vertebra, the discs are becoming hydrated again because you're not pressing on them from above. So all the discs in your spine are sopping up the fluids that were compressed out when you were standing or sitting. So allow your spine to be bathed in the fluids in the surrounding tissue. This is a spine bath. think of water, like your spine is a nice, warm, perfect temperature bath. All the little discs getting nice and puffy and filled like water balloons. Bring your awareness up to your neck. Nice long neck, long back, long front, long sides. This is where the nerves come off the brain, down the spine, branching out of the chest, the shoulders, down the hands. So let your neck be nice and long and free and unobstructed. See if you could lengthen the back of your neck again, tucking your chin down towards your chest. And notice if you feel that down the upper back. It's all connected. Take your jaw, wiggle your jaw back and forth, side to side. And then open your mouth really big. Really big. So you feel your jaw stretch, you feel your flesh stretching. And then close your mouth. Do it again. And then slowly close your mouth. And allow your jaw to soften. Let your lips touch. Feel the tension in the jaw maybe. And let it be heavy, let it soften. Bring your awareness to your facial muscles on either side of your nose. Let your facial muscles relax. Feel the heaviness of them moving towards the ears. Soften, soften, soften. And bring your awareness to your eyes. Let your eyeballs be heavy and let go of any muscular contractions. Feel them be nice and soft and heavy, relaxed. Visualize a horizon, a beautiful, beautiful sunset. And you're looking as far away as you could see. And you look far and you actually see lots of area on the sides of pinks, purples, sun in the middle. And then release, holding your head. So the average head's about 10 pounds. Let your 10-pound head go. And feel what happens when you tell yourself to release. Where do you feel the release? I just felt that in the upper part of my neck. Let your back teeth separate. Your lips are touching. Bring your awareness to your nostrils. And start to follow the breath in your nostrils. Follow the breath to your lungs. In your nostrils, down to your lungs. And breathe really deep so you feel the expansion and the contraction of the lungs. And then begin to bring the breath down to your belly, below the lower ribs. Your hands are on your belly, so feel the rise and fall of your belly. Try to breathe as deep as you can to expand your belly as much as you can. Now direct the breath in all the way down to your sacrum, which is embedded in your pelvis. So to the low back and below to the pelvis. So you feel your pelvis pressing into the floor or the blanket, whatever your body is on. Breathe in and back to the floor, to your below your low back. And notice when you direct the breath down low to the tailbone, to the sacrum, there's actually a rebounding and a lift that you feel in your lumbar spine as you get a little spinal correction. This actually moves the joints of the lower spine, of the lower back, helping to gently massage from the deep insides. Take a few more breaths like this. These last few breaths, I'd like you to bring the breath in the spine, going from the top of the spine all the way down to the tailbone for your inhale. And exhale from the bottom of the spine all the way up out your nostrils. Follow the breath with your mind. Notice if you feel both sides of your body equally receiving the breath. Do you feel both sides of the lungs, both lungs, filling up with the same amount? For those of you that have scoliosis or any other spinal issues, that can have an effect on the breath. So pay attention right now as you breathe in. Are you breathing into the right lung and the left lung equally? And let's see if you could switch. So breathe in your nostrils, mouth is closed. Breathe into the left lung, all the way down to the tailbone. Breathe out of the left lung, all the way up to the nostrils. Stay on the left side. See if you can feel the left low back release, feel the left pelvic area. Maybe you'll feel this all the way down to your left foot. Bring your awareness now to the right side. To the right lung, try to keep the left quiet. Visualize it. It helps if you visualize the breath coming in as if it were a color, and you could see it come in and go all the way down to your right pelvic area. The slower you breathe in, like you're sipping the breath in, the easier it is to direct the pathway. And sometimes if you have a focal point that you're trying to breathe down to, like the right buttock, that could be helpful as well. And let's clear, breathing down to both buttocks, to the back of the body. Two more breaths. Bring your awareness to your fingers. Start to move your fingers like you're drumming your belly. Drumming your belly. Do the pointer fingers, middle fingers, ring fingers, pinkies, thumbs, pointer, middle, ring fingers, pinky, thumbs, all the fingers. And then start to wiggle your hands. So let's bring the arms out to the side, stretching the chest, the shoulders, opening up the pathways of the nerves to travel down, and also adding a little correction and a little lift in the upper spine. You may notice, bring your arms close to your body. The chest has the opportunity to relax. And as you bring your arms out to the side, you're activating the shoulder blades. And the shoulder blades, and you press your arms or let your arms release to the floor. When the upper arm bone starts to go down towards the ground, there's a lift in the chest. There's a correction of posture when you're in this position. It's a great way to work on posture. And then just for kicks and giggles, or giggles and kicks, I guess, see if you could slide your blanket away from you to put your head on the ground, arms out to the side, and just noticing here, where do you feel tension? And if you do, where do you feel it? So if you have a lot of tension and you need a blanket, that's tightness in the thoracic spine, or rounding that's come into the thoracic spine. You may be experiencing tightness in the shoulders, tightness in the front of the arms. Go ahead and put the blanket back. Bring your arms out to the side. Take an exhale. Bring the elbows down towards the waist. And then inhale, keep the elbows bent. Bring the arms towards overhead or overhead if your shoulders will let you, as if you're doing a jumping jack. Fingertips touch. Exhale, elbows are bent. Elbows come towards the waist. Inhale, arms go overhead like you're doing a jumping jack. You could either have your arms sliding on the floor like you're making snow angels, making floor angels, or you could let your arms hover. And then if you close your eyes and you go in your body, be in your shoulder blades near the spine and see if you notice the shoulder blades and any kind of clinging or clanking or bones moving. And especially if you have scoliosis. If you have scoliosis, your curve, the side that you have the curve, maybe you notice a little more tightness on that side. Or you may notice this equally on both sides. And then bring your arms all the way up. Let them rest on the ground if they can, and as high as they can. So either to the side on the ground or up higher if your shoulders will let you. And then wiggle your toes. Draw your knees towards your body. You could leave the blanket there, or you could take it away. And then bring one leg up to the sky and then the other. And then let's wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Let's do a little to the knee joint and to the legs, getting the fluids to flow, opening up the legs. You could tap your foot down towards the chair. Have your knees be closer to your chest if your low back is bothering you. If your low back feels okay, have your legs come straight off your pelvis. If you'd like to do both legs at the same time, hopefully you're feeling burning in your quadriceps, the front top leg muscles. I feel heat there. So hopefully you're feeling something. This is good for your knees, good for your bones. The bigger and stronger the femur, the quadricep muscles are that are on the femur, the stronger the femur bone will get. It's an important bone for aging, important muscle group for healthy aging. So if you are feeling a burn, smile. And then slowly draw your knees in, hold on to your knees. Having the blanket there just helps to accentuate the posterior pelvic tilt, which may help to stretch deeply this back hip joint. And of course, if anything doesn't feel good, you take it away. And then a little side to side. And then bring yourself, bring the blanket away. If you have a blanket there, take it away before you go to move. And then bring yourself to the side. Let your spine calm down here. Take your hand, bring your hand on the floor in front of you. And then to use this top leg as a little bit of a helper, I want you to push away. I don't want you to roll to your back, and I don't want you to lift your head. Let that relax, especially if you're somebody with upper back and neck issues. Don't let your head do all the work, lifting and pulling you up. We're going to push with our body and use this strong upper shoulder girdle to lift us away from the floor. And you may use the elbow of this hand. So go ahead.
We were in that for a long time, much longer than I actually realized we were. So a lot of things happened during that. There was a lot of somatic grounding, so a lot of mind grounding. For those of you that have anxiety, panic, fear, hopelessness of the future, when you need to control the monkey mind, lying down flatter is good. Elevating the legs or the pelvis will assist in that. We did a lot of somatic work today. So for anyone who suffers from chronic pain, and I'm going to say before we started today's practice, I had a headache on the right side of my head, a dull throbbing for the last 3 hours, and it's gone. So all of that somatic work we just did, we came from the back part of our brain where stress lives. It's invisible and subconscious. We were in this conscious part of our brain. So it was a lot of brain yoga that we just practiced right now. Yoga meaning inner integration of mind, body, soul, meaning you being here, especially if you really deeply were in all of what we just did. So the somatic aspects, feel your leg, let go of your leg, feel the femur bone, let it be heavy, let your pelvis be relaxed. Visualize the melting of an ice cube on the pavement. Let your low back muscles melt and soften. Breathe down to one side, breathe down to the other, breathe into one lung, breathe into the other. This is subtle, deep work that is so healing and therapeutic, more than anything we're going to do, I'm going to say, more than anything. And I'm going to say that because I'm in so many groups, and I was on a group last night with a PhD nutritionist that is one of the biggest players in the nutrition world. And she just met with a big company, and she was talking about all the changes that are going to happen with food. And there's a lot of nutritionists there, registered dietitians, and they're all talking about things, but everybody kept talking about stress and the relationship of stress to diet and to food and to health and to illness. And as a yoga therapist and a health coach, I realized that stress is the biggest thing. So when we could do a practice like this, where you're using the conscious brain, when you're visualizing, when you're using somatic awareness. You know, when we were doing the tapping, that was more somatic awareness. There's a lot of neurons in the brain for fingers, for tongues, for lips. So when we were doing drumming on our belly, that was firing up the conscious brain, firing up the homunculus. So, all right, lots and lots and lots of stuff just took place, and it was a long time. So hopefully you're feeling, your body's experiencing low back, upper back, whatever, wherever your issues are. Notice, maybe now they may have come back, but I'd love for you to notice if you do something like that, if you turn down the volume control in the places you have tension in your body. All right, chairs here. Let's use our chair for a second to stretch our body. So let's take the blanket, put the blanket so that your knees can be supported, and bring yourself with your arms on your chair, maybe forehead on the edge of the chair, stretching your body, or maybe you can even come a little farther back and stretch deeper. So find something, but what I don't want is rounding. I want most of your bend to be here in your hip joint. Low belly comes closer to the top thighs. So stretch. There's a lot of under armpit area, a lot of stretching for the chest. For those of you that have hand wrist issues or neck issues where your nerves are impinged that go down to your hands, stretching this part of your body can be great. If the head needs to be supported, be near the edge of the chair, and maybe even you could reach up the chair here. So if you have neck issues where you don't want the weight of your head to be hovering, you could actually come up. You could even bring your knees closer. So there's a lot of things I'm sharing here, and you need to find what's appropriate for you. This one's actually a humdinger to reach up high on the chair, resting my forehead onto the edge of the chair and letting my chest fall forward. Of course, for those whose knees don't bend, this might not be an option for you. Or you could try a spread leg position and see if that does that for you. And then go ahead and bring yourself up. I like to do a leg stretch. A couple of options here. So come to actually fold your blanket. Take your blanket, fold your blanket pretty high and sit on your blanket. And then take your legs pretty wide. You need your chair in front of you. Your legs are pretty wide. And you could rest on your chair. So you could come forward, and this will deepen the stretch. The important thing is straight back or natural curve back. And if you have osteoporosis, you do not want to compress the front of your spine. So you don't want this to come into your spine. So a forward movement is bending of the hips, not of the spine. And if you have the chair here, pushing down into the chair actually lengthens your spine. Lots of deep stretching happening here for me behind my legs. I'll tell you, this is usually something that looks easier than it is. And there's usually a pretty intense stretch that's experienced here by many. So find what is good for you, stretching your legs with weight. Always harder to stretch our legs with weight. And if you'd like, let's point and flex our feet while we're here, and you actually will start to activate some of the calf area. And then go ahead and bring yourself out of that. Take the chair off to the side for just a second. And then take your blanket and bring your blanket onto so you can come onto all fours. Coming onto all fours. Take your hands forward and let your fingers be out to the side so there's not too much wrist up here. And then I want you to push yourself side to side. So you actually feel the sides of your hips stretch. And then for those with posterior hip posterior hip replacements, just notice how you feel when you go into this, because you're definitely putting some extra stretch right in the posterior hip capsule. Feel that. And then come to a neutral, come forward and come back. Forward and back. Keep your head up. So if you do go back and you go anywhere near closer to the floor, you want the front of your spine to be stretched, not compressed. And then deepen the bend in the hips a little bit more. Take your hands forward. Bring your head to the floor, stretching again the upper area, the shoulders, but also the spine. I want you to think about your spine lengthening here. Your head touches the floor, or you may need a blanket or a block. And then think about your spine from where it begins, where the skull is attached to your spine. And then you have 26 bones. So 7 neck spines, see that nice and long, and they're very hydrated and moist, the discs between. And then the 12 vertebrae where your ribs are attached. And then your low lumbar spine, 5 bones. Then your pelvis, sacrum and coccyx. So point your tailbone away from you and try to point your tailbone a little bit down the back wall. It's going to add a little tilt to your pelvis, a little more stretch for you. And then bring yourself up. Bring yourself all the way up. All right. So we are going to come up onto our chair. So bring yourself up here, let your blood calibrate to this new level. Now the heart needs to pump the blood up to the brain. So for fall prevention, but also to be gentle with yourself. Realize that when you lie down, there's a certain aspect to blood pressure. And then when you go to all fours, there's another. And then you come here. And then when you go to standing, you need all this blood to be pumping up to whatever the height of standing is for you. So bring your chair here. Let's practice a little bit of getting up. And I would say that this is a good thing to do with a chair, actually. So my legs are on there. I'm the foot that's away from the chair. And actually taking your socks off, having bare feet. So another thing, you want to set yourself up for success by not having something slippery on your body. Okay, so here's the chair. You take 1 foot forward, back foot back, and you could use the chair, nice long spine, come up and go down again. Come up and go down. Now, what I want you to do is push the front foot, the front heel into the floor. Push it in before you even move. Feel your tushy, and then see if you could come up and down, up and down. Let's do that on the other side. Bring your foot forward in the chair here. Foot is forward, hand is here, back foot is slipped under, up and down. Really activate that front here. And then let's come all the way up. Okay. So let's move the blanket off, take the chair. I'm going to put this underneath my feet because it just sounds nice. But honestly, if you're 5'8" or taller, if you put a blanket on the chair, that'll be a little bit more supportive. And if you're 5'3" or below, you might need the support of the blanket. I'm 5'5", so the chairs are made for 5'5". So the angles of my joints on the chair are actually ideal. but they might not be for you depending on what height you are. So it's just always nice to set yourself up for success. And then we will need a strap and we will need a block. So have a strap and a block handy. And let's go ahead and sit all the way back in your chair and use the chair right here where it hits you, the top of the chair. Push yourself back so you feel an opening or a stretch in your chest. Then take your hands, bring your hands behind your head, clasping your hands behind your head, let your thumbs be down your neck. And then even hold, like let the hands cup the head so you get a little traction in your neck if that feels appropriate for you. Only, of course, doing what feels for your body to do. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself forward to the front edge of your mat, to the front edge of your chair. Take your hands on your thighs. You're going to bring your chest forward and then bring yourself back. I want you to feel yourself rocking forward and backward over your sits bones. So it's not just upper body moving, it's lower body. Really let the action happen in the pelvis. This is going to help to stretch the low back, open up the back of the spine. It's going to move the fluids through the discs of the low back. It's a really great way. This here, letting flexion come into that lower spine, is a way to release held tension in the low spine. So really getting that posterior tilt's hard for a lot of people. And we use this top part of our body to move. I really want you to try to get that low body to start moving. Stretch the low body. Push the belly button towards the spine. This is extension. This is flexion. Extension, flexion. But don't make the flexion be just upper body and rounding the upper spine. And if you have osteoporosis, don't even do the upper part. If you have osteoporosis, just let the low part come into flexion and extension. Flexion and extension. It's one of the 6 movements of the spine. Open up your throat. One more, each direction. Bring yourself back to center. Let's take your hands along the side. One hand on the chair, the other hand is out to the side. And then do a little bit of this here to warm up that elbow joint. And then let's take your hand on your shoulder, like a rotator cuff. There's 4 parts to a rotator cuff. It's 4 muscles, the tendons of 4 muscles that hold this shoulder joint in place. That's called the rotator cuff. Those 4 muscles, let's let your fingers, we've got an extra one here. Exhale, and then inhale up, stretch the side of your body, exhale down. Inhale. And then if you have no issues with your shoulders, take your whole hand up. And if you have issues with your shoulders, stay with the bent elbow. Lateral flexion of the spine. One more, come up. Maybe you're feeling your shoulder getting nice and warm here, burning, strengthening. Push your heart forward, push your hand into the chair, be as tall as you could be in your spine, and then bend it. And then bring yourself back to center. Feel the shoulder. This is good for low back because it stretches the low back muscles, lateral flexion of the trunk. Take your other hand out to the side, bending and straightening. And then bring the hand on, all the fingers are on, elbow down, exhale, inhale to lift, exhale back, inhale. If you have no shoulder issues, you could bring the whole arm to the party. One more. Come up and stay. Lift your chest forward. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself out. The last movement for the spine is rotation. Let's do this safely from the top to the bottom. 80% of your rotation happens right here where the lower ribs are, 80%. Take your hands here like you have flashlights, and let's exhale. And then inhale, let your flashlights, not your head, your flashlights turn to the side and back. It's not a big movement. Your pelvis is locked in the chair. And then push your sits bones into the chair, what you're sitting on. Push your belly button to your spine. And it's a very small movement. Flashlights are trying to turn to the sides. That's where 80% of spinal rotation, the lower spinal rotation, takes place. The most flexible part and the biggest range of motion is in our neck. So let's bring ourselves up to here to our cervical spine. And of course, paying attention to your issues if you have issues. So try to stack it properly first by pushing your head back on top of your spine, keeping your chin parallel. Exhale. As you inhale, let your head and your head only move to the side. Exhale back to center. Inhale, head and head only, back to center. Don't let your heart move. Don't let your rib cage move. Keep your elbows right in the side of the body. Inhale to the side. And then bring yourself back. Let's now go a little bit bigger. Inhale, let your heart, let your body move. Try to look farther back, like even over your shoulder right behind you. And use your hand here too to keep your spine long, the front spine open as you look. And you'll notice now, stretching belly muscles, stretching the lower trunk. I'm going to say more support for back, because as we have this rotation, we stretch the top of the psoas, one of the muscles that affects the back, and then bring yourself back to center and come all the way back. So I would like to do a low back stretch, but I want to preface this by saying that I do specialize in bone health. I have a lot of people that practice with me that have osteoporosis. So for those with osteoporosis, never ever I think we should all learn this, because it's really 50% of the population over age 50 has bone density issues. 50% of the fractures are in the spine. So it's something that like 70s, 80s starts to happen. So let's learn this whenever we can, wherever we are in our lives. The front of your spine, you don't want to push the front of the bones into themselves. You don't want this to be in your body, especially right here where the lower ribs are, lower ribs coming closer. So you don't want that, right? You could still look up, but you're in this crunched position. We don't want that. So I want to do a low back stretch, but I want to be careful for people with osteoporosis. So I'm turning to the side. The legs are spread pretty wide, really wide. Your legs are spread as wide as you can. And then take your block, because you may need your block. Legs are wide. Take your block, put one hand on your thigh and bring your block forward. And the bending is happening here at the hips. And then you're going to put your hands on your block. You're going to push your pelvis towards the chair, and you're getting nice and long in your spine. Those that have pretty good hips, you could bend a little bit deeper. If you go a little bit deeper, really trying to keep the spine flat or in its neutral curve, stretching the low back. Pull, lengthen your spine. Tailbone is moving towards the chair. For those that don't have any issues, you could even go lower, 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 and really trying to keep as much pressure off the front of the spine. And then at the end, coming more into that flexion position, feeling the low back stretch, stretching the back of your spine, opening the back of the spine. And then bring yourself back up. So if I had osteoporosis, I wouldn't even do the end part if I was really thoughtful and aware of the front of my spine being open. And if you don't have that piece of awareness yet, I wouldn't do that one. There's plenty of things to do. So, but I love that. I love that forward folding in a chair, coming forward and stretching my back like that. This is a really nice back stretch. And then walking over to the side to stretch one side more than the other. It could be really, really nice to take tension out of the back, especially if you're experiencing chronic low back or in that moment. And I would just say to avoid this if you have osteoporosis. Find other ways to stretch your back that are not this. Okay. So bring yourself up, get your strap. Let's take the strap up and back. So come away from the back of the chair, taking tension and held muscular stress out of the upper body here, stretching the chest, stretching the armpits. Let yourself be back. Let your chest be forward. So adding a back bend here to your body when you're coming into this full stretch. Look up to the sky. Let the strap move back like you're holding onto a sheet and you're in the wind and you want it to be like the sails of a ship. And you feel that backward movement, stretching, stretching, stretching. Take one more breath and then bring yourself back up above your head. Let's do lateral side to side. If you want to bend the elbow that goes up, that will make it so you don't go so far over and you still get a lot of great stretch. Go slow. I want you to feel how the stretch comes in all the way down to the side of the pelvis. And the arms, still staying in the arms. And try to have the strap behind your head. And then bring yourself back up to center. Bring yourself all the way out. Take that strap down to the side for a second. Shoulders are forward, up, back, and down. Forward, up, back, and down. Nice break to take. Nice way to take tension out. Then come back to center. You're going to lift your shoulders up and release. Lift them up and release. Up and release. Then the head, we're going to let the head go side to side. Think of the ear going straight up towards the sky, taking the tension out of the neck or stretching the neck. The ear goes straight up towards the sky. So the only thing moving here is your head. And make sure it feels appropriate to you if you have issues in your upper back or neck. If you hear crunchy sounds with no pain, that's okay. Those are like cobwebs. And then bring yourself back to center. Grabbing your strap. So we're going to do, well, let's stretch our legs a little bit. So take your strap down again, actually. And then I'd like you to come to your chair like this. This is a warrior two. And we'll actually do a little warrior two side angle. So bring your legs into this position, and even getting here is a challenge. There's a lot of stretching that's happening here. A lot of stretching in this hip, the foot, the ankle. So bring this into you. And if you have this front leg supported by the chair, that's what we're going for, is front leg supported by the chair. So try to get the knee to come all the way up to the edge of the chair. That'll give you freedom to get this leg straight. This leg's bent, that leg's straight. Shoulders are forward, up, and down. And then inhale, bring your arms up. And then take that front arm, put the front arm on the thigh, and bring the other arm up and over to the side. So try to get really long on this side. Pinky toe edge is pressing into the floor, lengthening on the side. Reach, reach, reach. Push your heart forward. Feel that stretch in your body. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself back. This is side angle and a little bit of warrior two in a chair. It can be really nice to add a lot of stretch to the low body. And in this and load up the joints. So we can get a lot of nice stretch here in this position. Toes are pointing in. Try to activate the arch, lift the arch up, point the toes away from you. You're at the very edge of your chair, so come forward. Let your whole leg be supported. Shoulders are forward, up, back, and down. And then inhale, lift your arms up. This is a warrior two. Try to keep your torso on top of your body. Make sure you're not going forward here. So start here. Then you bring your torso forward. Hand on the thigh. Arm is up. And right away, lengthening on that side. Push the pinky toe edge into the ground. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself out. So we're going to do a little power move. Something that if you wanted to do one big thing to strengthen your body, this is going to be chair pose, which is a really big strengthening posture. I want you to take your block. Your block goes between your knees. Go ahead and get your strap. Walk your knees closer to the chair. So your knees are closer to the chair. Sorry, your feet are closer to the chair than your knees are. And come to the very front edge of your chair to make it a lot easier. Take your hands out in front of you. You're going to squeeze the block. Push your feet into the floor, push your heels into the floor, feel your tushy activate, lift your hands up, bring yourself up, bring yourself down. Pull out on the strap, lift yourself up and down. One more, come up and stay up. So we'll hold this for 30 seconds, pulling out on the strap, squeezing the block, push your knees back, lift your upper body, lift your arms, let your low belly come closer to your thighs, and then point your tailbone down. So push your belly button to your spine. Coming out if you need to, of course. Lifting your upper body if you can. Push your belly button to your spine. Squeeze your block. Push your heels into the floor. And then go ahead and come all the way up. Take your block and strap off to the side. Woo! Let's bring your chair back. We'll end with a chair as well, but I like to come down onto the ground and do something first. So get your blanket onto the mat. Have your chair ready so you don't need to do too much else. And then bring yourself down onto the ground. Feel your heart beating. Draw your knees into your chest. Knees are side to side. Keep your knees in, take your arms out to the side, and we're going to come into a twist. So let your knees go to the side. Now for some of you, actually, you may need to have a block or a blanket or something to go underneath your legs. And if you're, whatever side you are, the opposite shoulder blade, the goal is to try to get the opposite shoulder blade to touch the floor with the knees to the side. So just allowing the softening of the body to find that. For those with low back issues, pay attention to how you're feeling here. To help low back, push the belly button towards the spine and lengthen the side of your body that's on the top, pushing the top of the pelvis away from the bottom of the ribs. Take the hand and bring the hand onto the top leg. Maybe that's something you do. These are all suggestions. And then let your head go the opposite direction of the knees. Whatever side's on the top, breathe to that lung. Visualize the lung, close the eyes. Take one more breath. And then drawing your knees up and in and over to the other side. Trying to get that elbow towards the floor. Close your eyes, let your exhales relax wherever you're feeling tension. Let your head go the opposite direction of the knees. Let each exhale be the opportunity to relax.
Keep breathing. And then take one more breath. And then bring yourself back to center. Bring your knees into your chest. Let the arms and the legs go in the sky. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. So we're going to come into the Shavasana. And this is the pose where whatever was shooken up during today's practice, so like you're a snow globe, we shook you up and the dust particles or the glitter is moving around. We want to let everything settle, and we want to let whatever we did in today's practice sink into our body, become our new body. So creating new memories. Each practice you do is creating new memories for your body and focusing on healthy joint memories, healthy muscular contraction and release memories. So find whatever you're going to end up in. If your legs are up on the chair, the kneecaps going out to the side helps to relax the hips, which relax the pelvis, which relax the low back, which relaxes the mind. So come into whatever's appropriate for you. And closing your eyes, your mouth, bringing your senses inward on your breath. Gently begin to wiggle your fingers and your toes, rolling your wrists, your ankles. I'm going to draw the knees into the chest. Pull the knees in deeply to your chest to stretch the low back, release the low back. Bring yourself onto the side. Not lifting with your head, but rather pushing yourself away from the floor to bring yourself to a seated position. And then bring yourself into a seated position. Bring your hands together. Thumbs touch the sternum bone. Press the hands together. Press the heart towards the hands towards the heart. We're going to close with a humming sound. Let's take an exhale to create space. Inhale. Bowing in gratitude, in recognition of each other. Namaste. All right. Only a very long intro today. Wasn't really planning to for that time that I just started. I started to realize who's here and what the needs were. And I just started thinking, oh, and we could do this and let's do this. And I don't know, just my mind went places. So I hope you're all feeling good. There was a little bit in there for everything, for low back, for tension release, for anxiety, for learning how to manage your stress, realizing the need to stop, to slow down, to be present moment, to focus on breath. So, good, Joanne. Nice to have you here. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me. And you're welcome, Nancy. You're welcome, Carolyn. All right. Thank you so much for being here. And we'll be back at it next week. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday. 4 days of teaching, 5 classes. All right. Time to carpe diem. Michael. Oh, great, Michael. Wow. Morning beach walk. That sounds amazing. In the rain? That's awesome. Yeah. Wow. So you were looking at the horizon today. Yeah. I just want to say something about the horizon. I had you visualize the horizon because that's actually how to relax the eye muscles. When we look out at a horizon, when our sight goes out like that, it actually relaxes the eye muscles. So it's a relaxation technique to look out at the horizon. So I had you visualize a horizon and going across the sides. You're welcome. You know what's crazy? I don't know if you guys realize this. It was 32 minutes. That's one of my longer guided meditation type practices. Because this is my stress class, this is usually where it happens for me, that I think of that. But when I started to do the body sensing, the somatic aspect,
I stayed with that, and it was 32 minutes. I couldn't believe it when I looked at because I have a clock here for my time to stay on time. I'm like, what? So I don't know if it seemed like that to you guys, but that was half an hour. And for all that relaxation, for the discs of the spine to be getting all those fluids, for the muscles to be releasing in the way that they were, the eyeballs, the facial muscles, the jaw, all the parts of our body that we relaxed, to do that. And then to, yeah, just all of it. There's just so many parts to that today. So it's 32 minutes. If it felt like that, I don't know, but that's how long it was. Yeah, Raina, thank you. All right. So anyway, hopefully you guys will float through your day. That's my goal. So let me know if you float through your day. All right. Bye.